Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
From makeshift studios deep in the heart of stately Maine Manor, this is the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, and I'm your host, Joey Harris. You can follow the show's Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. And folks, I ordered a Valentine's Day gift for my wife, and somehow it got shipped to my parents' house. I don't understand how, because I put same shipping address as billing address, but these things happen, I guess. We have a big thaw going on here in Maine, and as a result, there's slush and water flowing everywhere. It's just a big mess. Then it refreezes every night, so you have an ice rink in the morning, which always makes it a lovely time going to go get my wife's car at 6:30 a.m. Regardless of that, today we look at Halloween Havoc 1991 from WCW. Halloween Havoc 1991 was shown on pay-per-view on October the 27th. 1991 from the UTC Arena in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There were 8,900 in attendance. Opening credits, this is a pretty fancy graphics package of a graveyard and a spooky house for 1991. Jim Ross welcomes us to Halloween Havoc 1991. He and Tony Schiavone will be the announcers for the evening. They discuss some of the matches we will be seeing tonight and discuss and show the injury to Barry Windham that happened earlier in the day. They go to a video of Eric Bischoff interviewing some of the wrestlers as they arrive. First up are Cactus Jack and Abdullah the Butcher. Cactus Jack says bang bang and they walk off as Bischoff says they are ready for the Chamber of Horrors. Diamond Dallas Page and the Diamond Stud arrive next. DDP says they have Bischoff parking cars now and they leave. Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes arrive next, and as they pull up, Windham opens his door and the enforcers come up and slam Windham's hand in the door. Rhodes comes around to chase them. They leave and he checks on Windham. He says, "We've got to get you to the hospital." He puts Windham in the car and they drive off. We start off with the Chamber of Horrors match. It is a cage match where the object is to put your opponent in an electric chair and shock them to win. Elegante, Rick and Scott Steiner, and Sting versus Big Van Vader, Cactus Jack, the Diamond Stud, and Abdullah the Butcher. Cactus Jack and Abdullah leave the cage to attack Sting on the ramp. He fights both on the ramp. Rick comes out to help Sting. Sting reverses an Irish whip and sends Cactus Jack into the cage. Elegante and Vader exchange headbutts in the center of the ring while Stud and Scott battle in the corner. Everyone is in the cage now and Sting is hitting the heels with Abdullah's stick. They have caskets set up in the corners of the cage and a masked man comes out of one of them. He attacks Scott, who scoop slams him on the falling casket. Scott gets a kendo stick and hits the heels with it. Elegante with knees to the Diamond Stud in the corner. Sting with a drop kick and a clothesline to Vader. He knocks Vader to the outside. Diamond Stud starts to climb the cage and Elegante pulls him down. Sting dives over the top rope onto Vader. The mini cage starts to lower with the chair. The Steiner brothers bulldog Cactus Jack off the top rope and he almost gets mashed under there. Vader puts Rick in the chair, but no one is near the lever. Rick Steiner lines Vader to the outside. Sting throws a coffin lid at Cactus Jack and hits him in the face. A group of men dressed as ghouls come down the aisle with a stretcher and wait. Scott and Vader trade shots with the kendo stick. In 15 months, half of the participants would be in the WWF. Scott breaks the stick over Cactus Jack's head and Cactus Jack is busted open. Rick runs the Diamond Stud into the cage and then hits him with some right hands. Vader using the stick on Elegante. Sting and Cactus Jack climb the cage. Sting runs Cactus Jack into the cage. Cactus Jack drops down. Abdullah is hanging on the cage. Scott is punching him. Sting and Cactus Jack get into the ring. They are trying to chain Abdullah to the cage. Sting runs Cactus Jack into the cage to a big pop. They show an extended shot from the referee camera that Ned Patrick has on his head, and it is making me sick. Diamond, Stud, and Sting are fighting in the ring. Sting gets put in the chair, but Scott comes to his aid and gets him out of the chair. Everyone goes outside and around the cage, and the forearms are flying as you don't really have the room to do anything else. Diamond Stud climbs the cage. Elegante hits him until he falls off. Abdullah is jabbing Sting with an object and both are bleeding. Rick is attacking Abdullah with a stick. Cactus Jack goes up near the switch. Sting pulls him off and the switch falls, which means the chair is supposed to be electrified, but the switch has been falling all night long. Diamond, Stud, and Abdullah nail Rick until he goes down. They push Rick into the chair. Scott and Elegante come over to try to help. Referee Randy Anderson is shown climbing the outside of the cage to try to fix the switch. Rick is hit back into the chair as Cactus Jack is up by the switch. Rick gets up and belly-to-belly suplexes Abdullah into the chair as Cactus Jack flips the switch and Abdullah gets electrocuted. Sting's team wins. The ring mat catches on fire. Cactus Jack comes to check on Abdullah as the cage rises. Abdullah rises up and attacks Cactus Jack and the ghouls who brought the stretcher down. He grabs Cactus Jack in a headlock and they go to the back. Jim and Tony throw it to Eric Bischoff and Missy Hyatt in the back. Missy tells Eric she knows who the WCW Phantom is. She just isn't going to tell him because she doesn't like him. Wait a few years, Missy, and you will be suing him and WCW in court. But I digress. The Young Pistols show up, and Tracy's Smothers says they don't give a hoot who the Phantom is. They say they are interested in the U.S. tag titles currently held by the Patriots. Steve Armstrong says they are tired of playing the good way, and this is professional wrestling. The Creatures versus Big Josh and PN News. The Creatures are Joey Maggs and Johnny Rich under mask. News gets on the mic to do his Yo Baby Yo routine. Christine Valver is shown. She is WCW Magazine's PN News Rap Contest winner, and she looks like my friend Becca when she was a teenager. Big Josh and Creature number 1 start. They lock up. Big Josh shoves Creature 1 off. They lock up again. They get up against the ropes and Creature 1 comes back with a series of shots. Creature 2 tagged in. He hits a series of forearms to Big Josh's back. He corner whips Big Josh. Big Josh gets a kick in on the charge. Big Josh reverses a corner whip and Irish whips News into the Creature 2 in the corner. They then slam Creature 1 and the Creatures roll out to the floor to regroup. News with an Irish whip and a drop kick to Creature 1. News with an Irish whip, but drops his head early and Creature 1 kicks him in the face. Creature 2 tagged in. He punches News in the head. Creature 1 tagged back in and kicks News while Creature 2 holds him. Creature 1 goes for an Irish whip, but News holds on to the rope. He Irish whips Creature 1 and belly bumps him. News holds on to Creature 1. Big Josh tagged in. He jumps off News' shoulders and knocks down Creature 2. He then hits a belly-to-back suplex on Creature 1. He stomps Creature 1. He chops Creature 1 in the corner. Creature 2 comes and hits Big Josh so Creature 1 can regain control. He hammers Big Josh in the corner until Big Josh reverses it and starts chopping Creature 1. Corner whip and a backdrop to Creature 1. News tag back in. He headbutts Creature 1. He then suplexes Creature 1. News with a corner whip, but misses the charge in when Creature 1 moves. Big Josh tagged in. Creature 2 tagged in. Big Josh belly-to-belly suplexes him. Big Josh with a front face lock. Creature 1 tagged back in. He hits Big Josh with a forearm and breaks his back. Big Josh hits a razor's edge-like move. He hits a forearm and a chop to Creature number 1. Big Josh with an Irish whip and a double axe handle. He hits the Northern Exposure sit-down splash and tags News in. News hits the Rat Master splash and pins Creature number 1. Jim and Tony preview the next match. Bobby Eaton versus Terrence Taylor with Alexandra York. As Taylor is taking his ring gear off, a Bobby chant goes out. Pushing match to start. They lock up. They go to the corner and shove each other in the face before they break. Eaton presents his face to Taylor and dares him to hit him. They lock up again. Taylor with an arm drag. Another lock up and another arm drag. Eaton blocks a third arm drag attempt and hits one of his own and then another one. Then a clothesline to Taylor. Taylor rolls out to confer with York. They lock up again. Taylor with a shot to the face. Eaton comes back with a right of his own. They lock up again. Taylor with a knee to the gut. He throws Eaton out to the floor. He goes out after him. He runs Eaton into the barricade. Taylor goes towards him and Eaton backdrops him over into the crowd. They get back in the ring and Taylor goes to kick Eaton again, but Eaton catches his leg. He spins Taylor around and hits him with his right hand. He gets the 2 count. Eaton with a shot to the throat. Taylor with an Irish whip, and Eaton reverses a hip toss attempt. Eaton goes back to the hammerlock. He drives knees into Taylor's back. Taylor fighting the move. Taylor up and hits Eaton with a jawbreaker. Eaton ducks his right hand and hits Taylor with an atomic drop. Scoop slam to Taylor on the ramp. Eaton goes up top and drops a knee on Taylor. Eaton with a right hand that knocks Taylor back into the ring. Eaton comes in after him, and Taylor grabs him and throws him outside of the ring on the other side. Eaton climbs up on the apron to get back in, and Taylor runs him into the corner post. Taylor then runs and drives a knee into Eaton to knock him off of the apron and into a barricade. Taylor comes out after him and hits a clothesline. He then goes over to confer with York. Eaton comes back in as a bobby chant goes out again. Taylor with a corner whip and a clothesline. He then drops a knee on Eaton. He gets a 2 count. He picks Eaton up, Eaton with the right hand. He charges Taylor, who throws Eaton off and out to the ramp. Taylor with a gut-wrench powerbomb to Eaton on the ramp. Back in, Taylor keeps driving a knee into the lower back. He scoop slams Eaton and climbs up top. He hits the splash from the top rope. He gets a 2.5 count. Taylor with a rear chin lock. Eaton is fighting to get back to his feet. He does and hits Taylor with some right hands. Taylor drives a knee into Eaton's abdomen. Eaton rolls to the apron. Taylor takes his legs and pushes Eaton to the floor. Eaton gets on the apron and hits Taylor in the stomach as it comes over. Eaton gets a sunset flip for a 2 count. Taylor with a clothesline. Taylor then drops a knee on Eaton for another 2 count. Taylor with a camel clutch. The bobby chant starts again. Eaton gets to his feet and hits some elbows to Taylor to break the hold. Taylor gets the sleeper on. Eaton drops down to break the hold. Eaton tries for a splash, but Taylor gets the legs up. Taylor goes for a splash from the second rope, but Eaton gets his legs up. Back and forth. Eaton with an Irish whip and a backdrop. Eaton punching Taylor on the turnbuckle. Taylor goes for an inverted atomic drop, but Eaton drops it and goes for a suplex. Gets a 2 count. Eaton gets a neck breaker and goes up top. Taylor dives and hits the ropes and posts Eaton on the top. Taylor goes for a suplex from the turnbuckle, but Eaton knocks him off. Eaton hits the Alabama Jam and gets the pin. Jim and Tony talk about the next match. Jimmy Garvin with Michael Hayes versus Johnny B. Bad with Teddy Long. The Freebirds are wearing Braves gear, so they are popular with the crowd. A Freebirds chant goes out. Then a DDT chant goes out. It takes a while to get going. They lock up and go to a corner. They break and Bad with some punches to Garvin's midsection. Another lock up and they go back and forth with drop downs and leapfrogs to avoid each other. They counter each other several times until Garvin hip tosses Bad outside to the floor. Hayes hits Bad with the right hand while he is on the outside. They lock up again. Bad with a side headlock. Garvin pushes off. Bad comes back with a shoulder block. Garvin then catches Bad in a power slam. Garvin runs the ropes and finally hits Bad with a forearm. Bad rolls outside to confer with Long. Back in, they lock up. Garvin with a wrist lock into an armbar. Bad with some shots to the face to break the hold. Bad gets Garvin down on the ropes with some forearms, then some jabs to the stomach and an Irish whip as a DDT chant goes out. Bad with a flying clothesline. Long gets up on the apron to get the referee's attention while throwing something to Bad to choke Garvin with. Bad throws it outside where Hayes picks it up and tries to tell the referee what happened. Bad with an Irish whip and a backdrop. Garvin reverses a corner whip, but Bad gets his boot up on the charge end. Bad with a clothesline coming out of the corner. Bad goes up top and gets a sunset flip for a 2 count. Bad with a scoop slam. Bad goes back up top and hits an elbow off of the top rope. That only gets a 1 count. Bad with another scoop slam. He goes up top again, but Garvin catches him with a forearm to the stomach. Hayes pounding the mat to get the crowd behind Garvin. Garvin runs Bad into a turnbuckle. Bad reverses a corner whip. Bad goes for a running elbow in the corner, but Garvin moves and Bad goes up and over the apron. Bad appears to be bleeding from the mouth. He gets back up on the apron and Garvin slingshots him back in. Garvin goes to drop an elbow, but Bad moves as the DDT chant goes out again. Bad with an Irish whip. He then tries to leapfrog Garvin, and they collide in the center of the ring. Long gets on the apron and referee Mike Atkins comes over to him at the same time that Garvin hits the DDT. Garvin then goes to attack Long, who climbs down just before he is hit. Bad comes over and hits Garvin. He goes to pin Garvin, who gets his foot on the ropes, but Long pushes it off and Bad gets the win. Hayes chases Long into the ring and punches him out. Hayes then wants Bad to come back inside the ring. Hayes and the crowd try to explain to Atkins what happened with Garvin's foot being on the ropes. Missy Hyde is in the back and pleads with Bobby Eaton to tell her who the WCW Phantom is. Eaton has a pumpkin with him and says he's going to go celebrate because he just won a match. WCW World Television Championship. Steve Austin with Lady Blossom versus Dustin Rhodes. The bell rings and they circle each other. They lock up again and Rhodes drives Austin into the corner. They break. They lock up again. Austin with a side headlock. Into a hammerlock. Rhodes reverses it. He hits Austin with an elbow. Austin comes back and grabs Rhodes by the leg to force him down. Rhodes reverses it into a single leg grab. Austin gets to the ropes. Austin with a side headlock. Rhodes pushes off. Austin comes back with a shoulder block. Austin goes back to the side headlock. Another push off by Rhodes and another shoulder block by Austin. Crisscross and Rhodes catches Austin with a clothesline. He follows that up with a drop kick. He gets a 2 count. Rhodes with a side headlock takeover. That gets a 2 count. Austin reverses into a head scissors. Rhodes' grandma is shown cheering for him in the crowd. Rhodes reverses into a leg vine. Austin gets to the ropes to break the hold. They circle each other again. Lock up and Rhodes with a side headlock. Austin pushes off and they do a few running the ropes and drop down spots to avoid each other. Austin catches Rhodes with a boot to the stomach. Austin with a headlock takeover. Then a series of reversals. Rhodes with a drop toe hold. Into a front face lock. Austin counters into a hammer lock. Rhodes gets back to his feet as they trade wrist locks. Rhodes with a side headlock. Austin pushes off. Rhodes with a shoulder block. Austin comes back with a hip toss. He misses an elbow drop when Rhodes moves. Rhodes tries for a roll-up, but Austin holds onto the ropes and pushes Rhodes off. Rhodes clotheslines Austin out of the ring. Rhodes puts Austin back into the ring. Austin with an Irish whip. Rhodes with a go-behind into a side headlock. Austin with another Irish whip. He drops his head and Rhodes catches him with a knee to the face. Rhodes goes for the bulldog, but Austin blocks it and pushes Rhodes off. Rhodes with a right hand to Austin. Rhodes with a side headlock takeover. He gets a 2 count. Austin shifts over and gets a 2 count. Rhodes shifts back and cranks the side headlock. Austin grabs the tights and shifts over for another 2 count. Austin works his way back to his feet. Austin pushes off and Rhodes comes back with a shoulder block. Rhodes gets a crossbody for a 2 count. Goes back to the side headlock takedown. Gets another 2 count. Austin with the head scissors, but none eyes to the referee that he pulled the hair to get it. Rhodes gets to his feet and gets a side headlock back on. He gets a 2 count. Back to their feet and Austin pushes off. Austin with a couple of drop downs. Rhodes goes for a crossbody. Austin drops down again and Rhodes goes flying out of the ring. Austin goes after Rhodes. He punches Rhodes several times while he is on the floor. Austin goes back in to break the count before going out again. Rhodes is busted open. Rhodes gets up, but Austin runs him into the apron. Austin goes up top and hits a double axe handle on Rhodes on the outside. He throws Rhodes back into the ring. Rhodes comes back with the right hand to the face. Austin with a gut-wrench suplex. Austin with a side headlock. Austin uses the ropes for leverage as it is announced that there are 5 minutes remaining. He finally gets caught and has to break the hold. Austin complains to the referee and then turns around to get hit with a right hand from Rhodes. Rhodes with a corner whip and goes for a monkey flip, but Austin pushes him off. Austin comes out of the corner and hits a clothesline on Rhodes. That gets a 2 count. Rhodes with an inside cradle for a 2 count. Austin reverses it for a 2 count. Rhodes reverses that for a 2 count. Austin misses a clothesline and Rhodes hits a lariat for a 2 count. Rhodes with an Irish whip and goes for a clothesline, but Austin holds on to the ropes. That gets another 2 count. Austin chokes Rhodes on the second rope for a 4 count. The referee gets Austin off, allowing Lady Blossom to come over and slap Rhodes while he is still hanging onto the ropes. Austin then comes over and chokes Rhodes again with the ropes, but breaks on the 3 count. Austin goes for a leapfrog body guillotine, but Rhodes moves and Austin hits the ropes. Rhodes with an atomic drop and a lariat. Rhodes gets the cover, but he is too close to the ropes and Austin gets his foot up. Rhodes throws Austin to the outside. Rhodes runs Austin into the corner post. Rhodes punches Austin and he has been busted open. Rhodes punches Austin again and throws him back in as 2 minutes remain. Rhodes with an Irish whip and a power slam. That gets a 2 count. Rhodes with a snapmare. He punches Austin several times. Rhodes with an Irish whip and a bionic elbow. That only gets another 2 count. Rhodes gets Austin in the corner and hits him with punches and elbows. Austin collapses inside the ring with 30 seconds left. Rhodes with an Irish whip. Austin leapfrogs Rhodes and they exchange right hands. Rhodes with a flurry of offense. He only gets a 2 count. Rhodes goes up top. He hits a flying lariat and covers, but the bell rings before the 3 count. Austin retains the television championship. Rhodes drop kicks Austin after the bell rings. Austin falls out of the ring. The crowd boos the announcement of the draw. Starrcade 91 ad featuring Battle Bowl. Oz versus Bill Kazmaier. They lock up. Oz pushes away. They lock up again. Another push off. Another lock up and Kazmaier goes for a side headlock. Oz with an elbow and a knee to the midsection to get out of the move. Kazmaier tries to knock Oz down with some shoulder blocks, but can't. He finally gets him down with a clothesline. Kazmaier with a scoop slam. Oz wants to test the strength. They do, and it's even. Oz with a shoulder and a boot to the midsection of Kazmaier to get the advantage. Kazmaier coming back. He drives Oz down to his knees. Kazmaier then stomps on Oz's fingers. Oz comes back with forearms and knees to Kazmaier. Kazmaier reverses a corner whip and hip locks Oz out of the opposite corner. They lock up again. Oz goes back to the knees and forearms on Kazmaier. Kazmaier reverses a corner whip. Kazmaier misses the charge in when Oz moves. Oz with a belly-to-back suplex. He gets the 2 count. Kazmaier out on the apron. Oz attacks him with forearms. Kazmaier lifts himself up and over back into the ring by the ropes in a spectacular maneuver. Kazmaier with a forearm and gets Oz up in a backbreaker. Oz gives up. Jim and Tony talk about Van Hammer. Van Hammer versus Doug Summers. Hammer comes out again holding, but not playing, the guitar. They lock up and Hammer gets the side headlock. They get to the ropes and Summer reverses the move. Hammer pushes off. He goes to clothesline Summers, who ducks the move and falls down. Hammer with a clothesline. Hammer with an Irish whip and a power slam. He picks Summers up and hits him with a forearm. Hammer with a corner whip and a backdrop. Hammer drops an elbow on Summers, then a leg drop on Summers. Hammer with a slingshot suplex to get the pin. Brian Pillman says many athletes go their entire careers without ever having a world title. He says just a few months ago he wasn't even in WCW. The great fans brought him back. He's dedicating the match to his family and the great fans of WCW. Alexandra York is with Richard Morton. She says this is Halloween Havoc, the night for the York Foundation to get its first title, but they will not stop there. Morton says it's been a long, hard road. He says the road Brian Pillman is taking is coming to a dead end because all of his life he's been a champion, and tonight is no different because he's coming to be the light heavyweight champion. Finals of the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Brian Pillman versus Richard Morton with Alexandra York. JR gets Pillman's athletic career in. If you're drinking at home, you can take a shot. The bell rings and they circle each other. They lock up. Drive to a corner. Morton goes for a shot, but Pillman ducks and goes for a shot, and Morton ducks. They lock up again, and Morton with an arm drag. They lock up again, and Morton with some forearms to Pillman. Pillman reverses an Irish whip. Morton slips through Pillman's legs. Morton then rolls to the outside. He confers with York and the computer. Back in, another lock up. Morton with a side headlock and a punch to Pillman's face. Pillman reverses an Irish whip. They each try for a hip lock, but both block it. Pillman blocks a shot and slams Morton. Pillman with a spinning heel kick. Morton falls to the outside. York checks on Morton. Back in, they circle each other again and lock up. Into the corner and Morton with some knees to Pillman's stomach. Morton with a corner whip, but Pillman leapfrogs Morton on the charge in. Pillman goes to the other corner and fakes a reverse crossbody. He then hits Morton with a double axe handle. He gets a 2 count. Morton with a side headlock takedown. Back up, Morton with a push-off. Pillman comes back with a shoulder block. He gets a 2 count. Pillman with another side headlock takeover and another 2 count. Morton with a head scissors. Pillman comes back with another takeover. Morton reverses back into the head scissors. Back up. Pillman with some forearm shots. Pillman with a corner whip and a couple of arm drags. Side headlock by Pillman and he gets a 2 count. They get back to their feet. Morton pushes off and drops down. He hits Pillman with a back elbow. Morton then goes to drop an elbow, but Pillman moves. Pillman with a headlock takeover. He gets another 2 count. Morton gets back to his feet. Morton pushes off. Pillman comes back and leapfrogs Morton. Morton catches Pillman in an inverted atomic drop. Morton starts to work on Pillman's shoulder. He drops a fist on Pillman. Pillman comes back with an elbow to Morton. A series of elbows by Pillman, and Morton responds with an eye rake. He throws Pillman out, but Pillman lands on his feet and gets right back in. He rolls Morton up. He gets a 2 count. Morton with an arm bar. Pillman trying to get back to his feet. Morton drops him back to the mat. Pillman fighting to get out of the arm bar and not get up. Pillman breaks the hold and gets a shoulder block. Morton with a knee to the stomach. Morton goes back to the arm bar. Pillman gets back to his feet, and Morton drives him to a corner. Morton with a corner whip. Pillman comes out with a clothesline that Morton ducks. Pillman catches him with a second clothesline. Morton gets an eye rake. Morton runs Pillman on the top rope. Morton with a back suplex. Gets a 2 count. Morton with a choke for the 4 count. Pillman reverses an Irish whip. Morton catches Pillman's leg, so Pillman hits an enziguri. Pillman then runs Morton into the corner turnbuckle. Pillman with an Irish whip and a backdrop. Morton with a kick to the stomach. Morton with a series of head and body shots. Morton with a corner whip, and Pillman comes back with a big slap to Morton's chest. Then 2 more, and Morton finally goes down. Morton with a push-off. Pillman comes back with a shoulder block. Both men collide and both fall to the outside. Pillman goes for a headlock on the outside, and Morton runs him into the ring post. Pillman makes it back to his feet and climbs up top as Morton gets back in the ring. Pillman hits a crossbody. He gets the pin to win the light heavyweight championship. The crowd cheers as he raises the championship high. Jim and Tony talk about the next match involving the WCW Halloween Phantom. The WCW Halloween Phantom versus the Z-Man Tom Zink. Phantom comes out trying to cover himself with his cape. When he gets in the ring, he attacks Zink right away. He hits Zink with some forearms and then Irish whips him. He then clotheslines him. He scoop slams Zink. The Phantom rakes Zink's eyes and then his back. Another Irish whip by Phantom and a running knee to Zink's stomach. He then drops Zink abdomen first across the knee. He then drops an elbow on Zink. Then another elbow. Another forearm and an Irish whip to Zink. He drops his head too early and Zink kicks him in the face. Then several punches by Zink to the face. Zink with an Irish whip and a drop kick. Phantom with a knee to the face and a neck breaker to get the pin. Tony does some foreshadowing by saying that's the rude awakening. Another Starrcade 91 Battle Bowl ad. WCW World Tag Team Championship match. The enforcers are Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko versus the Patriots, Firebreaker Chip and Todd Champion. The Patriots are the United States Tag Team Champions. Zbyszko and Chip start. They circle each other. They are very slow to start. They finally lock up. Chip with a side headlock. Zbyszko pushes off. Chip comes back with a shoulder block. Zbyszko gets the abdominal stretch. Chip counters it with one of his own. Zbyszko counters and hip tosses his way out of the move. He tries to drop an elbow, but Chip hits him with a boot to the face. Single leg pickup and a scoop slam by Chip. Gets a 1 count. Zbyszko goes for a neck breaker. Chip powers out of it into a backslide. Gets a 2 count. Zbyszko says Chip pulled his tights. Zbyszko very irritated. Anderson tagged in. Anderson with a go behind. Waistlock takedown. Chip sits out and they tangle in the ropes and Anderson stumbles to the outside. Back in, Chip gets a side headlock. Anderson complaining that Chip is too oiled up. Anderson pushes off. Chip comes back with a shoulder block. They lock up again. Anderson with a side headlock into a hammerlock. Chip reverses the hold. Champion tagged in. He hits a double axe handle from the second rope while Chip is still holding Anderson. Champion with a wrist lock. They get to a corner. Anderson with a knee to the stomach. Anderson with the left hand to knock Champion down. He then stomps Champion. Champion goes out to the apron, and Anderson slingshots him back in. Anderson drops a knee on the collarbone of Champion. Champion back on the apron, and this time he slingshots Anderson to the outside. Champion drops a flying forearm to Anderson on the outside. Anderson rakes Champion's eyes and goes for a pile driver, but Champion reverses it into a backdrop. Chip throws Anderson back into the ring. Champion with an Irish whip. He catches Anderson in a bear hug. Chip goaded in, bringing the referee over, allowing the enforcers to double team champion. Double corner whip the champion, who comes out of the corner with a double clothesline to the enforcers. The enforcers roll to the outside to regroup. Zbyszko tagged in. They lock up and get to the ropes. Champion breaks clean and Zbyszko slaps him. Zbyszko goes outside. He makes Champion chase him around the ring and then gets back in. Anderson tagged in. Zbyszko hits a thrust kick on Champion. Chip goaded in and referee Randy Anderson comes over, allowing Anderson to throw Champion out over the top rope. Zbyszko runs Champion into the barricade. Back in, Anderson runs Champion's head into his knee. Anderson with an Irish whip and drops a fist into Champion's stomach. Anderson with a snapmare. Anderson drives the knee into Champion. Zbyszko tagged in. Zbyszko stomping Champion. Zbyszko with a scoop slam. That gets a 1 count. Zbyszko with a swinging net breaker. Gets a 2 count. He stomps Champion again and runs his head into Anderson's knee in the corner. Anderson tagged in. He hits Champion with several left hands. Champion coming back with a series of right hands. Back and forth. Anderson misses a left hand and gets atomic drop. But while he was going up, he tags Zbyszko in. Zbyszko hits Champion from behind with a second rope double axe handle. Zbyszko with a backbreaker for a 2 count. Zbyszko with a rear chin lock. Champion reverses a suplex attempt. Anderson and Chip both tagged in. Chip knocks both enforcers down with right hands. He then scoop slams them both. He drop kicks Anderson and then Zbyszko. Chip with an Irish whip and a bear hug on Anderson. He waist locks Anderson, gets him up, and slams him down. He goes for the pin, but Zbyszko comes in to break up the pin. All 4 men in now. Champion going after Zbyszko. Anderson runs Chip into Zbyszko, who is knocked outside, but Anderson hits a spine buster on Chip to get the pin. Jim and Tony talk about the last match before throwing it to Eric Bischoff, who is on the ramp. He brings in Paulie Dangerously and Medusa. Paulie talks about being thrown off of WCW. He says now this means war. He says he's going to start right at the top with Sting, because what would WCW do without Sting? He says he went and got Medusa and told her to find the man who can eliminate Sting for good. He then brings out the Phantom. He is unmasked as Rick Rude. Rude gets the mic and says it's known that all he cares about is himself, his women, and his money. He says Paulie, his money man, has a problem with the World Championship Committee. He says the way to solve this problem is to dismantle WCW brick by brick. He says what a better way to start off than with a low-life scumbag like Sting. He says that since he has never stood face-to-face with Sting, he's wondered if he's as small as he looks on television. He wants to know if he is the low-life garbage-collecting scumbag that he portrays on TV. He says, Sting, your days are numbered. He's going to tear apart the WCW, and he's going to take Sting's U.S. title. Jim and Tony talk about what just happened. A feature on Ron Simmons going back to Florida State to train for his match tonight. Main event. 2 out of 3 falls for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Lex Luger with Harley Race and Mr. Hughes versus Ron Simmons with Dusty Rhodes. Referee Nick Patrick sends Mr. Hughes to the back. Patrick then goes over the rules. The bell rings and they are just staring at each other. They circle each other. They lock up and JR mentions their football careers. If you're drinking at home, you can take a shot, including the fact that the 2 men were teammates at one point for the Tampa Bay Bandits of the old USFL. They break and then lock up again. Another push-off. Another lock-up and Luger with a side headlock into a takeover. Gets a 1 count. Simmons reverses it into a head scissors. They get back to their feet and lock up again. Luger with a hammer lock. Simmons with the reversal. Luger gets to the ropes. They circle each other again. They lock up and again drive to the corner. Luger finally breaks. Luger goes for a right hand, but Simmons ducks and hits a right hand of his own. Simmons with a couple of more rights and Irish whips Luger. He goes for a drop kick, but Luger holds on to the ropes. Luger hitting Simmons with a series of kicks and an elbow to knock Simmons down. Luger with a double axe handle and then another one. Then a forearm to Simmons' back. Simmons falls against the ring ropes. More forearms by Luger, but Simmons comes back with a kick to the stomach. Then another one. A series of kicks and punches to Luger. Luger reverses an Irish whip. He drops his head too early, and Simmons drives him face first into the mat. Simmons with an Irish whip and a clothesline. Then another Irish whip and a power slam. Then another Irish whip to Luger and a spine buster. Simmons gets the pin to win the first fall. Second fall. Luger stalling and doesn't want to come out of his corner. Jim and Tony surmising that there may be something wrong with his back. Luger finally comes out of the corner, but he is holding his back with one hand and holding on to the rope with the other hand. Luger circles the ring holding on to the ropes. They finally lock up again, and Luger drives a knee into Simmons' stomach. Simmons blocks 2 suplex attempts and hits one of his own. Simmons with 2 corner whips and a backdrop, focusing on the injured back. Luger gets to the corner and begs off. Luger gets an eye rake in. Luger with a corner whip, but Simmons hits a back elbow on the charge in. Simmons with a bulldog. He gets a 2 count. Luger gets to the ropes and forces the referee to get Simmons back. Luger with a shot to the face and stomach. Simmons blocks the scoop slam attempt and gets an inside cradle on Luger. Gets another 2 count. Luger goes back to the ropes. Simmons goes for Luger, who grabs him and throws him to the outside. Simmons gets on the apron and buries his shoulder into Luger's stomach. Simmons with a sunset flip on Luger coming back in and gets a 2 count. Simmons hits a clothesline. Simmons goes after Luger, who again throws Simmons to the outside. Rhodes comes over to check on Simmons. Luger kicking at Simmons, trying to prevent him from getting back in the ring. Simmons rolls back in, and Luger starts kicking him almost immediately. He chokes Simmons with his boot for a 4 count. He runs Simmons' head against his shoelaces. Simmons tries to come back with a boot to the stomach. Luger runs Simmons' head along the top rope. He then chokes Simmons on the top rope before hitting a slingshot to him off of the ropes. Luger drops an elbow on Simmons. Gets a 2 count. Race yelling at referee Nick Patrick that the count was slow. Simmons with a punch to the midsection. Simmons with kicks and shots to Luger. Luger reverses an Irish whip. He power slams Simmons. Slow to count and only gets a 2 count. Luger kicks Simmons. He kicks him back down. Back and forth. Simmons gets Luger in a corner. Simmons with a corner whip. Luger gets his boot up on the charge. Luger with a clothesline. Gets a 2 count. Luger is frustrated. Luger with a suplex. Another 2 count. Luger has been slow to cover. Luger with a headlock. The crowd is trying to inspire Simmons to get up. Luger getting a boot on the ropes for leverage. Patrick checks Simmons' arm. It doesn't fall a 3rd time, and Simmons trying to get back to his feet. Simmons coming back with a series of punches to Luger. Luger reverses a corner whip, but Simmons moves out of the way on the charge. Simmons rolls Luger up for a 2 count. Luger up and hitting forearms to Simmons. Luger with a double axe handle. Luger with an Irish whip. Simmons blocks a hip lock attempt. He turns it into a backslide for a close 2 count. Simmons with a shoulder block. He goes for another one and Race grabs his leg. Dusty comes over and punches Race to the ground. Simmons punching Luger. Back and forth. Luger rushes Simmons, who gets grabbed by Race, and only Luger goes over the ropes, and Patrick disqualifies Simmons because it looked like Simmons threw Luger over the top rope. 3rd fall. Simmons and Dusty complain about the call and about Luger poking the eyes. Luger is holding on to the ropes again and doesn't want to come out to meet Simmons. Luger hits Simmons with a cheap shot. He attacks Simmons over and over, and Luger is bleeding from above his eye. He runs Simmons into a turnbuckle. He hits Simmons with a double axe handle. Simmons gets fired up, and Luger is begging off. Simmons unloading on Luger in the corner. Simmons with corner-mounted punches. Luger picks Simmons up and goes to hit an inverted atomic drop on Simmons, but Simmons blocks it and clotheslines Luger. That gets a close 2 count. Simmons with a corner whip and a backdrop. Gets another 2 count. Then yet another 2 count. Luger gets the shoulder into Simmons' midsection. Simmons reverses an Irish whip and gets an inverted atomic drop. Simmons puts Luger on the turnbuckle. Simmons hits a superplex. Another close 2 count. Simmons with an Irish whip and a power slam. He mounts the 2nd rope and hits Luger with a shoulder block. Luger rolls to the outside. Simmons goes out after him and runs Luger head first into the barricade. Luger pokes Simmons in the eye. Simmons gets down on a football stance and charges Luger, who moves, and Simmons hits the post with his shoulder. Luger rolls Simmons back into the ring. Luger hits a pile driver and pins Simmons. Race grabs the title, and he and Luger leave as Dusty checks on Simmons. Jim and Tony look at a replay of the end of the match. They then talk about the main event. They then talk about Rick Rude arriving and wanting Sting and about Brian Pillman winning the light heavyweight title before signing off from Chattanooga. The end credits then roll. Final thoughts. This show was all over the map. The Chamber of Horrors match was a disaster. The Pillman-Morton match was good. The Austin Rhodes match was great. And the main event was good. Mildly recommend. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at @TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from Stately, Maine Manor.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.